I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. We're doing something new. This is a series devoted to turning 40, the milestone birthday, and celebrating everything it is to be a woman at 40, like career-driven mom, all the good things that come with that milestone. I think it's that part of life that I think you finally are like, yeah, I get it. I get it now. You know what I mean? Or there's hurdles along the way. But right across from me is Melissa, and she is an entrepreneur, a business consultant, a mom, a wife, and she's in New York, actually Hudson Valley, New York, right?
Yep, that's right. That's where I currently live. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for those who don't know you, I see you worked in nonprofit for a little bit and then you
Mhm.
changed over. So what was the deciding factor?
Honestly, there's a lot of deciding factor, but the sole purpose, the underlying common denominator is really to serve people. And I continue to serve people as a nonprofit consultant, as an entrepreneur. So yes, so I spent, my goodness, I was working in nonprofits since I want to say since I started college back in 2001. And, that was my first job. And, I always felt like I had a purpose to serve people, to give back. And so throughout college, throughout graduate school, after graduate school, I continued to work in nonprofits. But then more recently, I decided to pivot because I needed flexibility, but also I wanted flexibility in my lifestyle and flexibility in the way I work with and serve nonprofits. As opposed to only working with not one organization, I want to be able to serve many at once. And so this is how I decided to do it, right? As a nonprofit consultant.
So nonprofit is like a broad term.
It
It
is.
could be nonprofit in the medical sector,
Mhm.
in media, in radio. Like what was the sector that
Yeah.
you worked in?
So primarily my main focus has always been, or I would say for the most part, has been in serving people who have been impacted by the criminal legal system. And so providing or organizing leadership trainings, advocacy trainings that really help them advocate for themselves, right? And help them advocate for the policy change and develop their leadership skills so that they can have an impact in their own communities in the ways that they felt were necessary. And so that was the main group of folks that I served. Worked in a college setting at one point where I launched fellowship programs that helped college students serve people who were formerly incarcerated. And then I also just developed cohort-based programs since then. So it's an intersection of serving that community and also developing leadership skills and providing trainings as well. So that was a sector that I was in. And currently, through my business, Make Ideas Work, I help organizations who are doing dope work. I help their staff work smarter, not harder. You know what I'm saying? So I provide them with the trainings, the tools, and also consult with them on how can they do the work more efficiently so that they can focus on the impact that they're having, so that they can build the relationships, so that they can, help raise funds and not be so caught up in the day-to-day routines that is really that they're, drowning in. And so I just help them work efficiently in that way.
You know that saying, work harder, not smarter. I never really
Work smarter, not
understood
harder.
harder.
Yes.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder. So I never really understood that. But I think in my research online, YouTube is our best friend. It's planning ahead, really planning your day, organization, which is easier said than done. And so I guess you help people in that sector organize, plan ahead, and do things in a more efficient way. Like you have an 8 hour day and how do you tackle so many things, right?
Colleen, I never even thought about that. Like right now, as you said, I was like, working smarter, not harder is a lifestyle. It really is a lifestyle. It's a mindset. Didn't get there. I wasn't always like that, right? Like I learned the hard way. I was that person who waited the last minute to do things. I was that person who would wake up in the middle of the night to respond to emails or just work all day and night. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, I realized that it had a personal impact on me, right? Like I felt like I was operating from a space of scarcity. I was always like exhausted. I was always anxious and stressed out, you know? And so when I'm like that, then the people I work with are like, you know, like, what's up with you? Right. And then when I'm like that, the people in my household are like, what's up with you? Like, what's up with the mommy? And what's up with, my husband's like, yo, what's up with you all the time? You know? And so when people are like, yo, what's going on? And you're like, well, I'm stressed. And why am I stressed? It's because these things are happening to me. And so when things were happening to me, I was like, no, I need to take control of that and I need to make things happen. Right. And in certain order. And so once I made that pivot of like, I cannot allow things and people to take up my time and energy, and I need to be in control of that. That's when I was like, that's the strategy of like how to reclaim my time. That's how I reclaim my energy. That's how I like plan things ahead and the power in that. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's about lifestyle and mindset.
it's a battle. I am still procrastinating with certain things, but I started watching some more videos and like, baby steps. Because I think in work, sometimes I want everything to be perfect, but there's no such thing. And so I think hearing you say that, like when you're tired and stressed and you're constantly going, like everything affects you. You do things like how you eat and how you sleep, and everything affects you as a person and who you want to be, right? And so it's one of those things where I think it's one day at a time, right?
It's one day at a time. It's also one step at a time, and it's the baby steps that really matter. And it's the baby steps that really add up to the major thing. You mentioned, perfection, and I've like perfection is so overrated. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
Perfection also is one of the reasons why a lot of people procrastinate because it's like, oh, I want to learn some more about this before I do this, or I want to buy all of this in order for me to do that, and it's like, I want to get it perfect in order for me to do it. And I'm like, no, let's get that perfection out of it because the only thing that's perfect is God, and so we have to really understand like we are imperfect. And once we know that once we're like really get that, like the best thing to do is like just do it. And then you learn as you do it. And you're like, oh, well, that didn't work out. Let me try. Every failure, every step is a lesson, and that's how I see things, and that's why so many folks are like, how do you do this? And why do you, like how? And I'm just like, I might be that risk taker, but I don't want to spend too much time wishing I had done something. I just want to like do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And learn from that and then like pivot and figure it out, life should be fun. Like, let's just not worry about perfection and just do it.
Right.
Easier said than done, but to your point.
Oh my gosh, it's like you just said, just do it, which is the whole Nike slogan and everything, right?
Yes.
Just do it.
Just do it.
It never gets old. So I always say this to everybody. It's not where you are, like the path to where you are, like where you are in your career now. There's a reason you got here. You took steps to get there. So where did you grow up, Melissa?
My goodness. Like there's a lot of things that people don't know about me, like in terms of like where I am now, right? But the path to get here, I mean, like where I grew up. So I grew up in both Brooklyn, New York, and in Hempstead. I'm going to say, and this is important, is that I grew up, like my parents are straight from Haiti. I grew up in a household of a family of love and care and always giving. And that's when I knew that I always wanted to give to others, right? But also what's coming to me is when we lived in Brooklyn and we lived in it was a 2-bedroom apartment and it was the 6 of us. I have 3 siblings, but in this 2-bedroom apartment, there was never only the 6 of us living in that apartment. It was my aunt and my grandmother. There was always extended family that was living with us. And so my parents always opened their doors, like till this day, but they always made something out of nothing, And so we used to live in East Flatbush and then we moved to East New York. And this was like, I was excited to live in that area because now we live in the brownstone in East New York. The first place I lived in East Flatbush was an apartment building, right? Like maybe 6 floors, and we lived on like the main floor. And yeah, it was a nice area. It was a decent area. I love the culture because it felt very comfortable. It's very diverse, heavy on the Caribbean community. Lots of Black and brown folks at that time. Now it's very different in that where we lived. So anyway, so that was there. And then we moved to East New York. Now, East New York, that area where we moved to was predominantly Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. And so we felt like we were actually the minorities there. You know what I'm saying? It was different. And we moved from an apartment building to now like a duplex.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had a backyard. We had our own backyard, and the streets. I mean, like whenever I think about this time in my life, I think about playing double dutch, and tag in the streets, Oh my goodness. I just think about like it was too hot to stay indoors. We didn't have the AC, so we had to play outside situation, and everybody on the block came outside. We would go like to the park. I think about the people who were selling the ices in the streets. Like it was a whole vibe, that's what I remember. But also to bring it back to in terms of like how I got here during all of that, something that sticks out in my memory is seeing my parents. I remember them making car fresheners. How do you call it? Like car
air freshener?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they would make them out of like cardboard, right? So they would find like cardboard boxes. They would collect cardboard boxes, okay? And they would buy fabric. And then they would add potpourri to the fabric. And then they would cover all of the cardboard and the fabric, the potpourri.
Yeah.
In the fabric. Mm-hmm. And then they will just hang it in the car and they will sell them for like $5. It was like $5 for 2 for 8 or something like that. It's probably most likely that's what it was. And they were like selling that. And I remember seeing my father in the kitchen just make them late at night with a hot gun and everything. But that's when I think that's when I saw like that hustle. You know what I'm saying? It's like my mother, she was the one who would work. My mother worked in the hotel industry. She was a housekeeper from as long as I remember, right? She recently retired, but she was a housekeeper. My father did not work because he was physically disabled from the job. He was working in the factories in New Jersey and then he became physically disabled. That house, like I remember vividly like seeing that, and I feel like I may have helped my father make some of those. I might be making that part up in my mind, but my spirit is like I was with him. Maybe that's my entrepreneurial spirit, is like I was with my dad in the kitchen, like helping him with that.
Yeah.
And then from there, we lived there for 3 years. And then when I was 10, we moved out to Hempstead, Long Island. And when we moved out to Long Island, it was interesting because the idea for us in general, when you think about at that time, and we're like, oh, we moved to Long Island. First of all, it was a surprise. But I really thought it was like the Bel Airs, like that's what I thought. We done moved up.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to, but like all the things.
Yeah.
And then first day of school came and it was like, oh, there's no one white here. There's like,
oh my gosh,
just like me.
Yeah.
So it was very different environment, but Hempstead was cool. That's where I spent most of my upbringing in Hempstead. So that's a little bit about my background. That's where I spent most of my childhood.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So more of like a visual, but like when you went to school, and you went to, I guess, college, what did you study? Like, what made you get into nonprofit? I mean, obviously, it seems like that entrepreneurial spirit came from your parents. And I can relate to that too, for sure. I think like my dad's an entrepreneur. So there's always been that desire to do things on my own. I never really followed the pack. So I don't know if you could relate to that. I felt like the odd one out. And I think as I got older, now that I'm 40, like yourself, I realized a lot of things. Like the way my brain is wired and the way I do certain things. I just felt like I never fit into, what do you call it? The crowds. Like, you know what I mean? Like in high school and stuff. So I don't know
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how you felt about that, but like working in nonprofit, getting back to that, what led you to there? What did you study in school? Like, I mean, in
I
college, like,
I
did you do
mean,
that or?
honestly, like, okay, so the other thing I mentioned earlier that my parents always opened up their homes and there was always six of us plus. I mean, since I was 7, my parents had foster kids in the house. So I also
Oh,
had foster siblings. And
yeah.
so I was like, around this time, I don't know, like folks would always ask, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I don't know. But there would always be a caseworker or a social worker who would come by just to check on the children. And I was like, it seems
Hmm.
like a positive thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And so I was, again, in alignment with, I want to do something that helps people. That's all I knew. That's what I want to do. So what I studied in school is not honestly anything what I'm doing now. I didn't know.
Oh,
And I went to John Jay for undergrad. I went there and I studied deviant behavior and social control. And I don't even know how. I think I studied that because it was like psychology, sociology, and anthropology all at once. I was like, okay, because I didn't know what to do.
it's like a called like undecided major, right? You didn't
Yeah, it
even
was
know,
something, it
right?
was like
Yeah.
the most vague thing, the closest I can get to social work. I can't even tell you how I ended up at John Jay, but John Jay chose me. I went there and I ended up there. And then during my junior year, one of my classes got canceled. And the thing is that it took me 2 hours to go. I didn't live on campus. There was no, John Jay is a commuter school. And so it takes me 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to get back. And so when there's a class that is canceled, if it's like during the day, I have to wait around or figure something out because I can't just, like go home. So when it was canceled, I ended up in a program fair. Like there was a fair that was happening on campus. Thought, all right, let me go check it out by happenstance. And then I came across this program that would prepare undergraduate students for graduate program, for not even graduate program. Let me take a stab at for PhDs. Okay. And I was just like, what now? Huh? I was like, that's a thing. And I didn't even saw that as an opportunity to like consider what's next. I wasn't even thinking about I was thinking about what's next, but it really enlightened me to explore beyond what I was thinking of at that time. And so I went through this program called the McNair Scholars Program and changed my life for I ended up actually staying at John Jay for an extra semester because I needed to complete something for that program. But because of that program, I was able to apply for graduate school and ended up going to a graduate school in the Midwest, a Big Ten school on a
Wow.
full ride.
Wow.
And
That's
so I was like,
amazing.
so I was
Hmm.
like so I was like the first one in my entire family to make that move. And it was great. It was lonely, but I survived it. That's a whole different conversation, Colleen.
Oh my gosh.
That's a whole
Wow.
different
When you
conversation
say it was
because
lonely. Oh.
I mean, like the struggle was real out there because,
Yeah.
the
You're on
like level
campus.
of homesick.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I'm
don't get to go
saying?
home. Okay.
You don't get to go home, and so like you don't get to go home, and then so you create your own sense of family out there. So then I created my own sense of family, my community. I found my people, and but at the same time, because I did not party enough in undergraduate school, I kind of made up for that when I went to graduate school. So I partied a
Right,
lot. You
right.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
Hmm.
went
Yep,
in,
I
I went
understand
in.
that.
And it was a different environment for me. So I struggled out there. But yeah, like that whole experience, there was a lot of trauma that I went through, not personally, but intellectually, because like this was a PWI, it was a different experience. And it's like now you're
PWI, what do you mean?
a PWI is a predominantly white institution, so it's a predominantly white school.
Oh, okay.
And so the schools that
Wow.
I had been through were very diverse up to this point. And so the racism on the campus was very loud. It was very much felt.
Wow.
And also impacted how, like how I thought and everything. And so it was a lot happening.
When you go to like post-secondary, I think, like you say, it's a lonely place. I guess you felt lonely because of the race factor. Like there's not a lot of people, there's not a mixture. Like I think you feel like there's a sense of belonging when there's people that you can relate to or familiar faces or something, right? But for me too, I think when I went to university as well, I thought it would be different. For some odd reason, I think it's what you see in the movies, and it makes like higher education this place where you're going to meet people who are educated, who have a different way of thinking, and like there's more open-minded people. And I don't know if I necessarily found that. Like I found my two of my closest friends, but I had some professors that were like, they were brutally honest, and to the point where it kind of gave me like a little self-doubt in a way. Like it's where you're like, I remember one professor said to me, like, she's like, you didn't take anything else. And I was like, here I am. I'm like, when she kept saying that, I'm like, I need to drop this class.
Yeah.
It's going to kill my GPA. Like like, you know what I mean? Like when you hear the brutal honesty from a teacher, and I think that's like the teacher in me, like helping others, like, you know how you said acts of service. So when she said that, but it's like you said, like, it's kind of like, it takes down this like positive mindset that you have when you're in university, and then you hear someone say to you that you're just not
good enough.
Make it. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, right? Like I was lonely, but I was not alone on campus, right? And so like that sense of loneliness for me was more so like how I felt. And I felt like, again, I've always been with my family up to this point, and now I'm away from them.
Yeah.
And I was also like in a relationship, and then like now we're in this long distance relationship. So it was a lot. But also it is that level of brutal honesty that I was young, and I had believed a lot of the false statements or the microaggressions that were happening, and I felt like if that happened now, I would like, no, you know what I'm saying? Because this is me at 40, but at 20, I was still developing. I didn't know who I was at that time. I'm still trying to like find out who I am, and I'm still developing, and I'm trying to figure out a lot. And so when you're told, and now in this space that's supposed to resemble the world, oh, you're not good enough, or why you're here, and, all these things. And you're like, start questioning yourself. And then if, it hurt your self-esteem. I didn't like, it wasn't until after the fact, until I was like 30 and going through counseling. And I was like, oh, shoot, I actually had panic attacks. I was actually like, I felt anxious a lot of times going through that. And I didn't have the language to even name that, because counseling or anxiety or all of that was not part of my vocabulary before and during graduate school. So I had to navigate through all of that complexity of navigating all those emotions again, alone. I was suffering in silence in some ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also like just questioning my own worth, just literally questioning my own worth, walking around with that. So it was heavy, but now like, yeah, that ain't gonna fly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like, nope.
Like if I could tell that 20-year-old girl, like, listen, you're made for, you're put on this earth for a reason.
Yeah.
Fix your crown. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
you
sure.
Got this.
Yeah, for sure. I think like you said, it's another time in life, but now that you're 40 and you have a little bit more self-awareness, and like you've obviously gotten through a lot of obstacles, right? And yeah, we both have. I think we all do in life. And I think whoever's listening can relate. If you're 40 or 40 plus, it becomes that time when there's still going to be like hurdles along the way, but it's how you deal with it, how you handle it in the long run, right? And so I think you said, this is interesting. I'm going to bring this up. I don't know if you remember, but you said you celebrated turning 40 on your 39th birthday. So I wanted to ask you what do you mean by that?
No, I literally did. And it was by accident.
Yeah.
But like, oh my goodness. Like for the longest, I had been planning my 40th birthday in my head. All right. Like I
Oh,
was
okay.
the way I wanted to have, like I wanted to have a fet, and I am
Ah.
still going to have a fet. I don't know how and when, but I'm going to have a fet. And I'm going to celebrate my 40th birthday, before I'm 41. And maybe I celebrate it again when I'm 41 plus one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's how I wanted to celebrate it. So, but I think when I was turning 39,
Hmm.
my goodness, like in my mind, I think I was just so ready to turn 40. And I
You
remember
were? Wow.
I was so ready. There was something about, I don't know, like it representing owning yourself, you know what I'm saying? Like becoming who you are, like fully blossoming. Like I'm no longer second guessing. But the other thing too is that there's something about me in my 30s, like where people would still talk to me or look at me as if I was younger. You know what I'm saying? But now I can say like, I'm 40. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something about 39 where people are 38 and younger, where folks like treat you like you're a lot younger. But once I'm 40, it's like, I'm here. Like I've
You're
arrived.
like,
You know what I'm
oh, it's
saying?
like, whoa, 40. Some people are like, whoa, you're 40? You don't look
Yeah.
it, or like, you look younger than that, or like 40 is the new 30. There's so many
Yeah.
things with 40. And so did you have a 40th birthday yet? Like
Okay,
a big,
so
yeah,
all that to
yeah.
say, my husband threw like a surprise
Hmm.
40th birthday for me on
Hmm.
my 39th. But then it wasn't so much as a surprise because I ended up, when he was planning it, like there was a specific, because I'm a planner, right? He's not. And so I wanted to see my mother was going to make a special meal for me for my birthday. So I was like, I really want to go to my mom's house. And he was like, no, we're going to his mom's house. And I'm just like, oh, like, why? Like, it's my birthday. Why can't we just go to my mom's house and then go to your mom's house? Like, And so I got so upset with him. And so, and then he was like, because it's a surprise. It's supposed to be a surprise. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, I should have just let it be. But like for me, like details matter. But anyway, all that to say, he threw a very small, intimate 40th birthday for me. It was perfect. And a good friend of mine, we also went to Mexico for
wow.
my 40th birthday. So I was like, listen, I need this, whether I'm 39 or 40, we're still going to celebrate. It's all good. That was my 40th. It was my 39th. It was good. It was really good. So by the time my 40th came, my actual 40th birthday, I can't tell you what I did. I honestly, I can. I did absolutely, and that's
Oh,
what I
okay.
and it's the complete opposite from like when I turned 25, I wanted to turn up. You know what I'm saying? When I turned like 30, I wanted to turn up. But
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted just to like be still. I wanted to enjoy peace. I think I may have gone to the spa, but
Hmm.
I didn't work that week. I just wanted to not have any responsibilities. But like,
Don't do dishes on the birthday. I'm like, I don't do dishes on my birthday. I'm
yes,
like
right. I
relaxing,
just give me
nothing.
breakfast.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
it. So
Yeah.
that's how it was. But I think that is what set the tone for like the following months. Like I'm new to 40, my birthday was in October, so I'm new to it. But I would say that I love my peaceful moments. Like I love just waking up early and just an hour and a half to myself, reading, praying, meditating before I start the day. I realize I have more patience. I realize I have more like, I don't know, like it's just there's a level of peace that I really enjoy. And I don't know if it's me maturing. I don't know. But
Well, I mean, you're a mom too, right? And so is it like before the kids get up and like your time for yourself
so
or?
it's interesting that you say that because that's probably why I ended up where I started doing that. Because last year, I think so. A part of what I do too is I do some workshops around burnout and time and energy management and all of that. And I was like, by the time December, like I told myself I'm not going to do any work after October and November. And then it became December. And I'm like, yo, why do I feel this way? I felt so depleted. I meant depleted. The moment I woke up, the first thing I would do is go straight to getting the kids ready, then go straight to work. And then the kids will come home and I get them ready and then spend some time with my husband and then like do a little bit of work and then go straight to bed and then repeat all over. So with that kind of schedule, I had no time to myself. I was not pouring into myself at all. And so I nearly had a breakdown, but then I think it was more so like a breakthrough because I realized that I was burnt out. I was legit burnt out because I was
Yeah.
not pouring into myself. Here I am, like pouring into everybody else except for myself. And then I was like, you know what? Like, let me just. I have to. Like, it's a non-negotiable anymore. Like, so now, even though I wake up early, it's just like if I don't wake up early and like have that time for myself, you know it. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody feels it. Like I feel it. I'm like, something is off. What happened or what didn't happen? That's like, you know what? I did not pour into myself today. I did not.
Your morning routine, I guess, is
I
really
have
important.
to.
Yeah.
I have to. Because otherwise I'm pouring into everybody else and not to myself. And that all I'm giving it myself is an hour and a half. That's it.
But even when you're tired, you still feel like it helps, like even when you are, you know?
Yes,
Okay.
especially when I'm tired. I should do
Wow.
it. Like
Hmm.
again, like if anything, at least 30 minutes. Like this morning, I was like, yo, I don't know. Like
Hmm.
all week, it was like when my legs were aching, and then it was like my thighs were aching, and then my abs were aching. So now this morning, it was my back and my shoulders that were aching, and I had a headache. So it felt like it was just like creeping up all week. So I woke up with all of this in pain. I was like, yo, I'm canceling today. I had to sleep in. I asked my husband, I was like, yo, can you just get the kids ready? I'll be there in like 30 minutes or so. So with that being said, I was not able to have my usual routine because I was like hurting.
Yeah.
And then he got them ready, and I was like, okay, I'm good to get up. I had my coffee,
Hmm.
got the kids out the door. But I was like, you know what? Before I check my email, I'm going to give 15 minutes to myself in just pure silence.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? Just
Hmm.
15. Like, I didn't do the whole 30, but I was like, just 15 minutes, put on some meditation music and just be still. And then I was like, all right, let's go. I need to, I'm ready for the day.
Diva Tonight. Glamour for your ears. This is 40, a female perspective, with host Carlene.
Yeah, you know what? Even if it's not the meditation, but even a moment of quiet, I think. But I've been getting distracted by my phone as of late, and now I'm like, oh, I have to get back and like not go on my phone first thing in the morning and like just take that time, like you said. So no, the me time is crucial. It totally is. And yeah, meditation has been around a long time. And I did a 9-week workshop. That was hard for me. It was like 3 hours out of my day, right after work, and like every Monday at 6:30, it was like, but once I did it, I was like, this is helpful,
Yeah. And I experience meditation differently, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not like, for me, it's just being still, just being in tune.
Right.
Sometimes I play meditation music. I might ask Alexa to play some meditation music for me.
Yeah.
I might put on some gospel. I might just put on something that's not like going to rough up. During the day, I might get amped up and change the playlist. But for that 15 minutes, I'm just like, I just want to, sometimes I play no music, it's just me.
Yeah.
I might journal, I might read, but it's just about me feeding my soul at that moment.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing I haven't talked about it is in the series is not just the mental health aspect, not too much focusing, but just even health itself. And that, because I guess, it just depends on where you are in your life at 40, and it's true. So the time that you spend alone in the morning is so important. And even if I fall off of it, I watch like a podcast, like the Mel Robbins podcast.
Yes.
She's like, she's
like
the best
Mel
with that.
Robbins.
She's like, sometimes you get annoyed with her, but it's like, okay, Mel, you're right. Like wake up earlier, drink a glass of water, all these reminders that we have to give ourselves because we're so programmed, right? And so it really is important though, like you said.
Yeah. And the thing is that for me, I like personally with everything that's happened with like politically is pretty heavy. I used to like when when I woke up, got the kids ready, I would also drink coffee and watch the news at the same time. So I will start my day with the news.
Oh my gosh.
And now I can't, like, I don't even have to turn on the news to even know what's happening. Like I can just, it's like, it's all around me. So that was another reason why I was like, I need to be still before my energy or before I'm affected by all the news, you know what I'm saying? Because it can be overwhelming. And I'm the kind of person that can internalize that. And then like somebody calls me while I'm internalizing it and I'm like taking it out on them, like, what you want? You know, I'm angry, I'm pissed, you know, and it's like, I'm not pissed, like, I'm not mad at you,
Yeah.
but it's just like, I need to like get all of this energy out because so like I had to manage that. So that was a huge part as to like why I needed to carve that time out because I was like, I need to set that foundation before I'm all
triggered. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm triggered and then take it out on the wrong person.
First thing, part of your day. Oh my gosh. I think it's so true though. I think even late at night, apparently it's not good to watch it late at night too, but I'm like, I feel like if I don't watch the news, like I don't know what's going on, but like you said, it's everywhere. It doesn't matter. Social media, it doesn't matter where you're going to get the information, right?
Yeah, I go to the gym and it's on the screens. I'm just like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't want to see anything. You know,
it's like, true. All the monitors everywhere. Yeah.
It's just, like, I get to, I feel overstimulated by it. So now it's like, I want to be in control of when I'm ready to watch the news, when I want to see the news.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just like, I can't. So it's a lot. And you're right. Like, it's important to stay informed, but it's like, I will become informed when I'm ready.
Right.
I'm already, again, like I see everything that's happening. I see it. I know it, but I want to be in control in terms of like what is coming my way.
Right.
And we got to filter that information because there's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of it, you know?
Ooh, that's a controversial thing they're saying about the fake news, right? But I think it's, somebody told me this, it's like the news, certain things are considered a distraction, right? Like in a way, but we could go through a whole thing with that. But yeah, it's crazy. We are living in a crazy time right now. And so anything you can do to calm the storm, calm your mind so that it doesn't affect you stress-wise. It's true. Like, I mean, I'm in Canada, you're in the US, but like, we're supposed to be like...
But we're affected as well.
We are. Yeah, totally. The whole thing right now that's happening. It's unsettling in a way. And because I work in an industry where the change could happen. Like it's on pause right now, but I'm not going to go like straight into it. But yeah, whatever happens will definitely affect Canadians too. So it's just a matter of time. We'll see how it goes, right?
And at the same time, it's like being mindful of what is it that we can put our energy towards. You know, what do we have the capacity to do right now? You know,
right.
Don't we? So sometimes you know what can you control and what don't you have control, and what you know, what communities can you join, and how effective can you be?
Right. And that whole positive mindset. You know, the one thing we didn't talk about is your family. And, you know, there's one story that you told me. I don't know if you want to share that story, but I thought it was so powerful when you were having your son in the hospital. And like, I don't even know if you want to talk about that. But yeah, I thought that story was very powerful because I think a lot of women who have kids can relate, or you know what I mean? Or what do you call it? Ooh, how do I say that? Yeah. So just your son. So you have a son, and then do you have more than one child or?
Yeah. I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
And so this is the story about the level of pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Oh, right. That's a little. Oh,
yeah. I'm like, there's so many different perspectives with this. So giving birth to my son, it was my first child, and I was supposed to have a scheduled C-section. And so the scheduled C-section was going to be on March 28th, which is 7 months before my birthday. And I specifically told March 28th because my birthday's on October 28th. So I was like, okay, we can, be 7 months apart. Yay. But when I was getting ready to go to the hospital, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Like something just told me, like, just give them a call and just see if have natural birth and just try it out. It's like, all right, fine. So I called and they were like, yeah, you can wait. And then that was the first time I actually got that type of response. Fast forward, I went to a teaching hospital.
Oh.
I went to a teaching hospital major teaching hospital in New York where I ended up giving birth. Now, so the moment that we went in, okay, first of all, when they had to like inject that needle here or whatever, I do not like needles. Okay. I've never liked needles. Yes, I was like 30 years old. I still cry when I get needles. I do not like needles. And so when the doctors asked me what's my plan, I was like epidural because I don't want to feel any pain. I don't want to feel any needles, anything. This intern kept poking me, couldn't find my vein. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to cut you. Like I'm in labor. And he couldn't find it like for a solid 10, 15 minutes trying to find my vein to like pop it. So that was the first like frustrating thing because I'm like, I'm literally in labor. So fine, whatever. So now they're preparing, they're trying to get my doctor, and then my water broke. Okay. And the anesthesiologist arrived, but now they can't give me the epidural because my water just broke.
Oh.
So my water broke. And so now they're like, all right, so I guess it's time. You're going to have to push. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm pushing again. I just wanted epidural from the beginning. So I did not want to feel any pain. I didn't want to feel any. This is how much of a like, I won't say a wimp, but I really don't like pain. I didn't want to feel any needle and I really didn't want to give natural birth. I didn't want to. But here I am. We're going to do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm pushing and pushing, pushing. My son comes out and my son arrives, and next thing they know is that they realize that I'm torn down there in that area. And so they have to stitch me up. I'm like, oh my God, I got to do with needles now, you know, like,
Right.
And they're like, can we do this
Oh
tomorrow? They're like, no, we got to do it right now because we don't want to take the risk of infection. So I'm like, yo, I literally just gave birth. And they're like, oh, just put him on your chest because, you know, you won't even think about the pain. And I'm like, y'all don't understand. I do not like pain, right? And first of all, I just gave birth and I didn't like naturally with no epidural. So I insisted. I was like, no, I do not want my son on my chest. Like, I don't like pain and it's too much for me right now. And they insisted. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So they put him on my chest. They put some topical cream on me. All right. Didn't even allow it to settle. And they started stitching. And I felt every single stitch. My husband, you know, like, grabbed my son and I was like, see, like they're not listening. Like I did not want him on my chest and they didn't allow, you know, anesthesia to topical anesthesia to kick in. So I felt everything. And what that made me realize was one, they made assumptions that I can tolerate pain.
Right. Yeah.
And they were rushing that whole process. And I don't know why they were rushing, but I felt everything. And then like my husband, who's a tall Black man, didn't know how to advocate for me or for him. You know, like we're both thinking, of course, like we're going to do what the doctors say because they are in the right. Right. But they weren't. I should not have had to suffer in that way.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's like, I think in the moment, like you just don't know how to react or what, like, you know, you're just help me out here. You know what I mean? And hearing that story again, it's like, if only they would listen. And I think that's what a lot of people feel like in the medical system. Like you're always having to advocate for yourself. And then sometimes no one's hearing you when you're saying like, I don't like needles. Like I'm the same way. I don't like needles either. I don't like pain, you know. There's some of us that don't have a high tolerance for pain. Yeah.
I specifically said I don't want him on my chest, right? Because like it's too much going on right now. Like I don't want him on my chest right now.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah.
And I just like not right now. Like you're about to sew me up. Like I don't want him on my chest at this moment. You know, there is a time for bonding, and right now, like I can only do one thing at a time. And so this is the other thing. Like, I get that they're the experts, but what's the difference between like, you know, like delaying my bonding time with my son, you know, because of your theory, you know, like, oh, if you put him on chest to chest, you know, all this. Listen, I was still able to milk. I was still able, like waiting 10, 15 minutes didn't make that a significant of a difference, you know? And so like the other thing too is our identities. And I mentioned that my husband is a tall Black man because when you're in an institution like, you know, the hospital, you know, if he advocated for me, first of all, no one's teaching, you know, before you give birth, how to advocate at that time, you know, so they tell you, oh, to pack your bags. And, you know, when the baby is born, it's going to look pale and yada, yada, yada. But no one says, hey, this is how you advocate for your wife. And so if he advocated for me, what would that look like? They would get, you know, security on him. You know what I'm saying? Like if they say, yo, listen to her. She doesn't want the baby on her chest. Or like, wait, like hold up. Like, let's put the, you know, let's wait for the cream to settle, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, but the second round, when we had our second child, that we were in prepared. We were like, listen, you know how to advocate now. And then it was a completely different experience. It was a different hospital.
Yeah.
Completely different experience. And it was perfect. Right. Everything was just perfect.
It's a learning experience, right? You're first time parents, you're nervous. That's the thing. It's always everything that they don't tell you. Like I'm sure like your mom didn't even tell you. Like our parents don't even tell us those things. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't learn those. I don't know if I shouldn't assume, but I don't know if your mom ever told you about giving birth. Like it's always the untold stories, right?
Yeah. I mean, like we've had stories about giving birth, but every story it's just that. It's that person's story, right?
Right.
Like, story is going to be very different from somebody else. Like, but after that happened to me, again, another expectation was for me to continue to be super mom. Not even continue, but to be super mom, okay? Like, let me set the stage for you, Carlene, okay?
Yeah.
And I just gave birth. I'm sewed, like I have stitches in an area that I don't usually have stitches. They gave me Vicodin. Okay, so now I'm like taking Vicodin whenever it's necessary. I'm in pain. I have to sit on a donut and we're learning how to be parents and we weren't married at the time. And so I'm over here like trying to figure out when is my milk going to come? How's he going to latch? Things about work, about my body, me being a mom, just a lot happening. And at the same time, I had so many folks coming into my loved ones coming into my house.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you need to nurse. How come you didn't feed the baby? I'm like, yo, the baby's good. Like just all that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All that level of pressure. Like, why are you walking like that? And I'm like, yo, it was a lot. I felt like I didn't get that level of nurture and support that I really needed. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's like maybe folks assume because of my personality that I'll be good. I got this, but that's not always the case. And for my second child, for my daughter, I made sure that I was like, I don't want anybody coming to the hospital. I don't want anyone coming to the house for the first 2 weeks. I need time for my family to adjust first before folks come in, judging, criticizing, advising, all of the things. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I need, again, prioritizing us first.
Yes.
And we can open it up.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too. Like I had to say it in the Caribbean culture. It's always like, why didn't you do this? Or like, there's always someone else has an opinion and like we have to just like let it be. But at the same time, it's like, you know what?
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
This sounds really overwhelming. I don't think I've heard
the fish
anyone
oil,
say
liver oils.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm just like, y'all
it's like when you're sick too. Okay, just make sure you have the ginger tea with honey and lime. I'm like, yes. You know that thing when COVID happened and I got that cough and I'm like, I was so tired of everybody being like, drink hot water. Make sure you put lime in it. I'm like, yeah, I've been doing that. But the cough is still here. It's been like, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I am doing it.
Good place.
I am drinking it. I am. I have been drinking the tea with the honey and the lemon and lime. It's totally different than what you're talking about, but I'm not a mom, so I can't relate. But it's like another thing when everyone is like giving you advice and you're like, yeah, I know.
Listen.
I think it's they're trying to be helpful, but in Caribbean culture, in our culture, it's like sometimes it's not helpful. And sometimes you're just like, I don't know. Yeah.
It can be overwhelming sometimes. It can, like, again, I know it's from a good place, Just, like you said, it's like sometimes you just gotta, like, from Caribbean folks, you just gotta take it. Like, I guess, of course, I will, And then it's like, if y'all don't, listen, the one advice I will never forget, and me and my husband, we laugh about this, and this is a serious advice. My daughter, we think at the time, like looking back at it, she may have had COVID. She was a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
Like COVID was a thing in the other, like in China, but it didn't yet was
okay.
tracked here, but
Yeah.
like she had the symptoms. But anyway, all that to say, the advice that we were told from a family was, oh yeah, just put her PP on her forehead. We're not going to put urine on her forehead. I'm sorry. No, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Wow. Okay. I don't think I've
Legit.
ever heard that. Okay.
Legit.
Wow.
And so I was like, yeah. So I was like, I know y'all mean well. I know it's coming from a good place. I know. It was a bit much.
Oh my gosh, the advice, you know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that people give you depending on the culture. When you
Yes.
have a child, right? And even in Italian families. But I think what you definitely shared there is like it's hard to be a parent, you know what I mean? It's the one job that you have that I guess you get paid in different ways, but it's a hard job, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's something that, like someone told me that your kids didn't ask to be,
Yeah.
didn't ask to be here. So my goal is to make memories, not to feel the hurt or the pain that and for them to enjoy their youth, you know what I'm saying? Like be able to, and I just want to raise good citizens. That's all. You know what I'm saying? That's my goal. It is hard as heck, but at the same time, like
it's hard out here for
it's hard, but there are folks who have fewer resources than I have and who are doing an amazing job. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah.
Well, that's the powerful thing, Melissa. I think it's important that, everyone shares their journey and like how challenging it can be. But it's kind of like interesting to hear that perspective too, because I think for me, like, when you turn 40, like you have 2 kids, but I don't have any. I remember telling my dad about my condition. Like, I'm not going to say what's going on, and then when you're 40, you have less time, right? And so I just remember my dad telling me how he would like if I did have kids. And I was just like, what? You've never actually said anything about that. Like, he never pressured me. So it was just interesting now at this age that he brought that up. And I always think it's so interesting, like how parents are. And I'm like, oh, so you did want me to have kids. You just never like pushed me or anything. Like, he'd always push me if I'm doing if I had a business idea and it didn't go well, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, it's kind of like when your time is limited, it kind of puts things into perspective, right? And so that's my perspective with that. But hearing you talk about like your challenges too, like nothing is ironclad either way. And I think, yeah, it's just society, right? And like family and everything. So yeah, I'm Carlene and this is Diva Tonight with Melissa Schillingford. Is that how you say it?
Schillingford.
All right. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Yeah.
Diva Tonight with Carlene will be back. Send us a message on Instagram at diva_tonight.